Look forward to hearing what you have to say. So thank you so much.
Do I have share screen capability?
That's a great question. Now you do.
Let's find out. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, my name is Beth Foraker. I am the mom of 4 kids, but they're all big now. My youngest is 16 and she can drive herself to things. So believe it or not, they do get big. My 3rd child has Down syndrome and his name's Patrick, and he's 23 right now. Patrick was fully included all the way through preschool here in Davis. We live in Davis all the way through high school, and he was able to earn a California high school diploma. And many, many people try and tell me that it's because Patrick's some gifted and talented kid with Down syndrome. But the truth is he's not. He is just a very average kid with Down syndrome. But what he was given was, so Davis Joint Unified, that school district, has been fully inclusive since the 1960s. So there's a culture of inclusion in the city of Davis and in the school district of Davis, which makes UC Davis a natural fit for building an inclusive college program. Patrick, because he was graduating with a diploma, was not participating in the transition program that the school district offered. So they said, we just don't feel like that's a appropriate placement, and, go figure it out. I'm an educator. So I taught in the classroom for 13 years, elementary ed, 1st grade and 5th grade. And then for 15 years, I worked in the School of Education at UC Davis, helping teachers become teachers. And my dream was always to have an inclusive college program at UC Davis because I wanted my teachers to get better at teaching. And I wanted doctors to get better and nurses to get better and all of that. And we know that when you build inclusion, K through 12, and the same thing happens in college, when you support the students that need the most support, the teaching gets better, and academics and social outcomes improve for everybody. So, and Davis, the UC Davis is a very, very inclusive college. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how UC Davis's Redwood Seed Scholars program got started, and just let you know that Patrick, my son, there was no program here in California. So UC Davis's program is a 4-year inclusive program with residential living, which means our students live in the dorms, or as they go further, they live in apartments on or off campus, and they're fully included in the university. And there is no other 4-year program in the state of California. And there's only one other program in the entire Western United States. That's University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So there's just not very many options. So when it was Patrick's turn to look for colleges, we looked across the country for a 4-year program. He applied to 3. He was admitted to 1, which is George Mason University, and away he went. And we can all talk about, sending your child, any child, off to college is a big, heavy lift for families, financially, of course, but also just emotionally, and just a real big, huge transition for families. And so Patrick went, and we were not sure at all how he would do. George Mason is in Virginia. We have no family in Virginia. We didn't know what was going to happen, but their program is 20 years old. So they have been doing it for a while. And when we dropped him off, he was ready. In his mind, he was ready to do this. He had seen his 2 siblings go away to college and enjoy college, and he loved it. We always say, we think he's now going to be a senior, but he had 2 years and then COVID hit. He came back home. So then he had a gap, and then he had his junior year. But the first 2 years, it was just like the greatest time of his life. And we've had a pretty happy family. So, we were just like, wow, this is amazing for him. So watching what was happening for him, I would come home to California and just cry at all the kids I knew in our state who didn't have this opportunity, and there was no good reason at all. So, now I'm going to share with you about the program. So the first thing I want you to see here is, and I'm going to make it bigger. This is a redwood grove here at UC Davis. So the reason our program is called the Redwood Seed Scholars is we're named after this redwood grove here at UC Davis, because redwoods aren't supposed to grow in the Central Valley of California. But they didn't get the message. These redwoods didn't get the message, and they grew because some people in the 1930s created the habitat and the ecosystem that would allow them to thrive. And people with intellectual disabilities are the same. Like, they're not supposed to go to college. That's not a thing. But if you create the right habitat and the right ecosystem, they can thrive also. Now, I do want to just make it very clear that our program is for students with intellectual disabilities. So you do have to have a diagnosis of intellectual disability, and we can get into what that is and why. And our program is not getting a UC Davis Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor's of Science degree. Our students will graduate with an integrated studies credential that will be through the UC Davis Mind Institute. So this is not getting a bachelor's degree. So why does that matter? Well, if you think for yourself, what do adults with intellectual disabilities do in the state of California with their time? Are they working? Are they making a living wage? What are they doing? This graph is on the California State Department of Developmental Services website. It's a very old graph. It's from 2011, which is why the living wage is $9.50 an hour. We can all argue over what a living wage is. Now, a lot of people think it's $15 an hour. Whatever it is, the orange slice, that little tiny orange slice, is how many adults in the state of California are making a living wage. That's about 3% of the population, which means that 97% of people with intellectual disabilities who are adults in our state do not have options. They are living in poverty and stuck in social isolation. That green little slice is supported employment. So those are people having job coaches, maybe working less than full time, and supported in order to work towards this. And then the blue is day programs, where students are not working, or adults are not working. They're just kind of hanging out in groups together. And all the way up until last year, they were allowed to make sub-minimum wage, which is truly outrageous. Last year, California changed that law, but it is still there is still a federal sub-minimum wage for people with disabilities. And then the purple is just literally sitting at home doing nothing. So these are catastrophic outcomes that should make us all outraged and upset. And this is, again, from 2011, but the reason it is still on the DDS website is because these numbers don't change. They're steady. And so that's why they're still there. And what I tell my undergrads when I'm talking to them is the other thing that is really devastating about this is we've all just agreed as a society that people with intellectual disabilities don't have any insight, problem-solving skills, talents, or gifts, or lived experiences that matter. So they don't get to be representatives on a school board, in a city government, or state or federal government. We just all agreed that they don't get to be there. So because they don't get to be there, there's nobody with their lived experience who can change this at state or federal level. The only way this changes is if people without intellectual disabilities decide to move the levers of power and make it change, which again is an outrage. So in 2010, President Obama created federal funding to build inclusive college programs. And some people think, well, maybe this is just a rich person's lark. You know, we don't know what to do with our kids. We're going to send them to college because we're rich. But the truth is, we know what happens when you go to college. A neurotypical student, when they go to college, their relationships are better. They have better health outcomes because they start learning about nutrition. They start learning about the value of exercise. They start making better health choices. They become more civically engaged. They understand about public policy. They vote more often. They get better paying jobs, and they are happier across almost every metric. So that is what happens to neurotypical people who go to college. And the good news is those same outcomes happen for students with intellectual disabilities, even if they're not getting a degree. Their communication skills massively improve. Their executive functioning massively improves. They start voting more. They have better health outcomes. They get better paying jobs. They have better relationships, and they are happier across almost every metric. So here's some data for you. So we've been doing this since 2010 across the country. We are just way, way behind in California. We're about a decade behind in building these programs. But the good news is we have a lot of data to support this. So if that number, that 3% number, surges to between 60 to 80% of people who graduate from these programs get paid a living wage, which is fantastic. And that data is from 2017. So in 2022, the data is even better. 92% of people who attend these programs are real satisfied with their social life. And as a person who has a child who attends this program, he's very satisfied with his social life. One thing I want you to think about is when my son was born, there were almost no college programs. And we didn't know, to think about going to college for Patrick. We just included him in his life, and we knew that was a best practice educationally. And we worked to have him included in school and in his community and in his faith community. Patrick, his first year, January of his first year of being in college, called me, FaceTimed me, and it was dark. So it was a black screen. So all I could hear was his voice. I'm like, Patrick, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm in an Uber. Like, really, where are you going, Patrick, in your Uber? I'm going to a Super Bowl party. I'm like, awesome, Patrick, whose Super Bowl party? It was his roommate, his really good friend at the time, now his roommate, Scotty's family's Super Bowl party. And so he was just letting me know that he was taking an Uber and going to the Super Bowl party. And I was like, that sounds amazing, Patrick. Call me when you get there. Talk to you later. And then I hung up the phone and I thought, when Patrick was born, there was no college program for him to be part of. There was no Uber. There was no FaceTime. There was no iPhone. There was only the Super Bowl. That was it. So we have to support our students and our children in such a way that they can take advantage of opportunities we can't even imagine, because we're not going to be able to imagine the next 5 years or certainly the next 10 years at all. The rapid change in our society and in education and in technology will make the lives of our children possible to live very, very easily. So here's the team. Our team, I co-direct this program with Dr. Len Abadudo from the Mind Institute. So our program is a collaborative effort between UC Davis University and UC Davis Health, which is the Mind Institute. We leverage both of those great institutions to build this program, which is great and slow. It makes things a lot slower to develop, because a lot of people have thoughts and want to share, have their fingerprints on it. But so it's basically Len and I, and then we have an academic director whose name is Sarah. We have an employment director whose name is Philip, and we have Maribel Hernandez, who works for the Mind Institute, but also works for us as outreach to the Hispanic community. So that is our team. which is a very tiny team. Our mission and our vision is a two-way street. Yes, this program is for students with intellectual disabilities, but it is also for the mentors and the other students and the faculty and the other people on campus and in our city. So we want our students to live a self-determined, fully inclusive life using our post-secondary program that will lead them to competitive integrative employment, which is a fancy phrase for a living wage. But we also want to develop mentors that understand the value of inclusion and work to make it a reality. We want both of those things happening. And our vision is that our students will graduate after 4 years with the skills and the capabilities to live their lives and follow their dreams on their terms. This is a self-determined life. And then we want our Redwood Seed Scholar mentors or our faculty or anybody who works at UC Davis or in the city of Davis to work alongside our students and know our students. And then when they leave us, go out and build inclusive communities, inclusive living spaces, inclusive workspaces, inclusive community spaces, inclusive faith spaces. Everywhere we want them to know what they're missing when these people are not part of the community. So our program is very unusual. It's not like any program around the country. Number one, we're the only program in the country that leverages the health system and the university together. So that's very cool. It's 4 years, which is also super rare. It's a cohort model. So and all of you who are thinking about this for your children, or when your children are considering this for themselves, when you start looking around, think of college or any of these opportunities as flavors of ice cream. You know, no one is better or worse than the other. It is really just what fits you, what feels good to you or tastes good to you. So we're a cohort model intentionally. Our students come together. They take their first beginning classes together as a group. We want them to build a network together and then feel some stability so that they can go and build other networks, larger networks, socially and academically and in clubs and organizations. And then we have the residential piece, which is super, super rare. So there's 300 inclusive college programs across the country. Most of them are 2 years. Only about 30 are 4 years with inclusive living. So very, very rare to have that, but the living is where all the magic happens. When you see my students talk about this, I have a video, when they're talking about what they love about the program, it isn't the incredible curriculum we've built, the incredible employment opportunities that we've given them, even the clubs and organizations. It's not that, it's the dorms and living in the dorms, just like it is for any other student. And all of the amazing skills that are developed by having to live independently. With support, of course. Okay, I'm not sure how much time I have. So how much time do I have, Larkin?
I said from 6 to 7. So
okay, so we're good. We're doing okay. Okay, so we applied for federal funding. So this funding comes around every 5 years. This federal U.S. Department of Ed funding. In 2010, California got 3 groups got funding. It was Fresno State. They have a 2-year program with inclusive living. Taft Community College, which has a 2-year program with inclusive living, and UCLA got the first round of money. It's a 2-year program with living. And then in 2015, the only group that got funding was Fresno State. And then, so in 2018, the School of Education at UC Davis, my dean and myself and some others put together a stakeholder meeting in Sacramento to envision 4-year inclusive college programs up and down the state so that way more universities would apply for this money and potentially get it. We have 66,000 kids that are between the ages of 18 and 26 waiting for a program. 66,000, and we took 12. So there's just, so much need. It's massive. So we were awarded $2.1 million over 5 years to build a 4-year program. So in 2020, we got the money, Fresno State got the money, and Taft got the money. Now our jobs are to become sustainable so that other people can get the money. And that is our effort. We don't want to keep getting the money. We want, UC Berkeley, Stanford, Loyola Marymount, St. Mary's, Santa Clara. I don't care, but I just want you to start getting the money and start building it. So our program has 5 pieces to it. So we have foundational courses that our students take. Those are 6 courses that are just for them. Those courses are literacy and math, sexual health, self-regulation, emotional regulation, communications and technology, and civics and social justice. The civics and social justice piece is to develop advocates so that they can pull the levers of power. And as part of that piece, our students have internships at the state capitol to leverage those that understanding of civics and social justice. So that's the core courses. They take those 6 courses. First quarter, all they do is take those 6 courses, and then they live in the dorms and they adjust to living in the dorms. Winter quarter, they take their 6 courses, and then we add in Nutrition 10, which is a best of UC Davis class that almost every UC Davis student takes to build the healthy habits of nutrition and to understand food choices and all of those things. While they're living in the dorms, they have health and wellness mentors that meet with them one-to-one. These are undergrads from UC Davis or grad students, or even some med school students at UC Davis are our mentors. Come meet with our students, they work out with them, they go to the dining commons with them, they just talk about health and nutrition and making healthy choices. So that's health and wellness. We also have social inclusion mentors who support our students in participating in all the campus clubs and organizations that they want to be part of. And then, of course, the biggie is employment. So spring quarter of their first year, they start in employment. They only work 3 hours. 9 of our 10 students had never had a job before. So this was their very first job. Now our incoming freshmen, about half of them have a job, which is really cool. But anyway, they started for 3 hours, Fridays for spring quarter. Now our second year students are going to continue their employment, and they will go for double the time. So 2 3-hour chunks, and start learning, managing their stamina and their time on the job. They have, I think it's the next slide. Yes, we have 5 different ways that our students are supported. So our students are supported in health and wellness. They're supported in their social. They're supported academically. They're supported in their employment, and then residential living, housing at UC Davis. I mean, it's just unbelievable. No programs just start right off the bat with housing. I mean, that just is so rare. I can't even tell you. But UC Davis Housing said yes immediately to the very first cohort. And it chokes me up, because the reason that happened was because the guy who runs housing had been a student and he was an RA in the dorms, and he had a person on his dorm floor who had autism. And he understood how meaningful and great it was that he was part of the living community. And as soon as this opportunity came, this guy said, absolutely, we're going to make it happen. And housing has been absolutely phenomenal. So our students live the first 2 years in the dorms on campus. 3rd year, they live in on-campus apartments. 4th year, they live in off-campus apartments. But they didn't have, our students were coming after the pandemic, after a lot of kids had deferred for a year. There was incredible pressure on housing. And they were giving 12 beds to people who weren't getting degrees, which again, just high five UC Davis for saying yes to those students. But So since they did that, they didn't have extra beds to like give to a person to be their support living with them, right? So we had to figure out, how are we going to support the living? So what we created were these residential living mentors who come in the morning and they check on them and see, how was your night? How's your, did your shower go well? How are things going for you? Did you get your breakfast? Did you sleep well? All that kind of check in the morning. And then they also check in the evening. And that worked really, really well. It seemed to be just the right amount of support that was needed in the living. Now I'm super excited to see second year. Will our second year students need that check-in every single day, or maybe they need it every other day? That's the cool thing about building a program. We try things. If it doesn't work, we adjust. If it does work, we keep going with it. So we're building the airplane as we're flying it, for sure. These are the classes I told you about. I love this picture because it speaks to our mission and vision. Disability is a value add to UC Davis. And you can see, of course, the young man who has Down syndrome, who's surfing. His name is Jeremy. Jeremy came to our info session when I put this picture up, and at the end of the info session, he was like, that's me. I was like, what? So I have a photo of me and Jeremy. But anyway, what I love about this picture isn't just Jeremy, it's Felipe Toledo, the professional surfer. So Felipe is so fantastic at surfing that he comes from Brazil, comes to Southern California and participates in this opportunity because Felipe can hold a bag of potatoes. He can hold anything and surf any wave. And we all have talent like that. We all have something we can do so well. We could hold a bag of potatoes and do it. And we're all searching for our Felipe Toledo moment. We all want to take our skills and talents and lift it to that level. And you can see Felipe's face. His face is just as joyful as Jeremy's. And that is the truth for our mentors too. What we have seen with our mentors is their Felipe Toledo moment. But here's the exciting part. Our second year students, they're going to have their Felipe Toledo moment when they welcome our freshmen coming in. We're trying to always build those special Felipe Toledo moments, is what I call it. Okay, people always want to say, what's the best way to get ready for college? It's all common sense, but I'm just going to reiterate all the things you guys know. You want to improve reading. Reading is the #1 predictor of success in college. So the more you can improve literacy, the better. And, if you do not have captions on every single screen rolling every single day, you're missing a huge opportunity to build literacy. So caption everything, text everything, give your kid a cell phone and just text. Your child will get better in their literacy by texting. Have your child write. If they can't write, get on a computer. Write every single day one sentence that happened today. Anything, just build literacy. Read great books together. Make reading super fun. Build opportunities for independence. Allow your child to get lost in a safe place with support, right? But that opportunity of having to problem solve and figure it out will be really meaningful for your child. And most likely your child could figure it out. And if they can't figure it out, what do? Right? So you problem solve together. Leave the student at home for a very small chunk of time. Obviously, this is as they get older and into their teenage years. Leave them for a small chunk of time, give them a little thing to do, and then check in, see if they can do it. If they cannot be left alone for any amount of time, leave them with somebody, but still give them something to do. Hey, when I get back, those blocks need to be picked up. I'll see ya. Bye. Right? And just create the idea that there is something they need to be responsible for, and you're going to check later, not right now. Practice problem solving with your child all the time. Learn to navigate your neighborhood. So just start walking your neighborhood. Build technology skills and learn internet safety. You're going to have to let your child have access to the internet, and they need to know how to handle it when they are exposed to all of the different things on the internet. So teaching internet safety is crucial. Do online research about potential programs and talk to people. So we have a student from Petaluma. His name is Matthew Moxkey. He's our first student. He's coming in as a freshman. He is awesome. He would talk to your group and he would talk to your kids. And so talk to people who are there and get a summer job. If you can't get a summer job, volunteer. Do any volunteer, even as a little guy, even at, as a 12-year-old, start volunteering. These kids have gifts and talents that they can share. They can sit and read to the younger siblings. They can, put all the Cheetos in the baggie for the week for their lunches. They can do things. And the more we allow them to do things, the better. We also have a lot of data on what students are successful. This is on our website, but basically we have 9 core competencies. And these are things that any IEP you can add in, being able to follow directions, asking for help across a variety of settings. So knowing when to ask for help, that's a huge skill. And it is a wonderful skill. And it definitely, we had students who did not know how to ask for help their freshman year, and they learned it. They learned it over the year. Be able to manage your medicines independently. Of course, you're much older if you're doing that. Basic hygiene. Start taking showers, figuring out what means you've done a good job cleaning your body, what parts of your body need extra cleaning, why, explaining all those things. Accepting responsibility. So if you make a mistake, no biggie. In our program, that's no big deal. Everybody's going to be making mistakes. Like I said, we're building the plane as we're flying it. But if you make a mistake, you need to own your mistake and repair the harm if harm happened, or just say this happened and I'm sorry. Demonstrating resilience. I pretty much say we've all got that one because we've worked through COVID, and you have to be resilient to work through COVID. Being kind to yourself and to others is a huge predictor of success in college, in these college programs. So building that skill. Understanding personal safety. Is that person a safe person or not? And how do I help my child figure out if that's a safe person or not? And then managing your time, which is so hard for every incoming freshman. Don't worry about it. It's something we're going to be working on for a long, long time. What does college look like? Everybody thinks it looks different. It doesn't. They're at the football game. They're building the float for picnic day. They're going on a scavenger hunt. A bunch went to Target, spent too much money, and then had the consequence of having to deal with spending too much money. And then this one over in the corner that I love, she was always late to her afternoon classes, and she didn't like it. And so she problem solved. She took her lunch to go. She sat right in front of the building. And so when she saw other people coming back from lunch, she knew she could get right back in and be on time. So that was her problem solving to figure out, how am I going to get here on time? What am I going to do? Here's our students. We have family dinners once a quarter. That was our very first one in the fall. They are just, we had to be outside with a pizza party on the patio, and you can see they're loving life. College is really fun. Our students get to be self-advocates. So October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. UC Davis Health asked me to bring some students with Down syndrome who would want to talk to the first year med school students about having Down syndrome, about medical equity, about their medical journey. And so we brought 2. The guy on the left, his name is Ryan. He is from Santa Barbara. He's incredibly outgoing, incredibly personable. He put his hand in his pocket. He took that microphone. He walked and worked the room like nobody's business. Christina, on the other hand, had never spoken in front of a group before, and she went like this. And she couldn't do it. And none of us cared. We all said, it's no big deal, Christina, just sit and listen to Ryan, just watch. And then slowly, as Ryan was doing his thing, she started to, pull her hand down and watch. And slowly she started to just understand these med school students weren't going to do anything harmful to her or mean, or weren't going to be in any way aggressive to her. And then when the speech ended, a bunch of med school students wanted to talk to both of them. And by that point, she could talk to them. And then we've been asked to come back again. And I asked Christina, do you want to come back? Oh yeah, I'm ready. Right. So it's also just constantly giving those opportunities and building the skill level so that they can seize the day when the day happens. Our students go and talk to other students and talk about what it's like to be a first-year college student. And then this is the video at the end of the year that UC Davis made. So I'm going to let you watch that. Let me see if this works. Hold on.
It's been crazy, and it's been just, I have no words, to be honest, because it's been a lot of fun, and the year went by really fast, and to be honest, I really don't want to go home.
It's really awesome to hang out with my friends, and I love them so much.
I think it went amazing. I think it was so beautiful to watch them grow. They do things like make presentations in front of a large lecture hall of 125 UC Davis students, and they go to employment on their own, and they do it.
I'm learning how to do things independently. Doing laundry, cleaning dishes, cleaning my desk.
The homework load and schoolwork was somewhat a little bit hard, but at the same time, I mean, I like to challenge myself, so I would push myself for most of the time.
I've been cleaning my room, my floor, and I've been cleaning the common room and my desk.
It was hard at first, but what can you do? Yeah, manage it.
My shift was working at the library, work in the back more mostly where it's more quiet and more relaxed in a way. So for me, I like scan books where like I don't know, send email to those people like, oh, your book is here, you can get them. And then I'll just organize in general.
That's been fantastic. So shout out to UC Davis because UC Davis Police, UC Davis Library, UC Davis Athletic Recreation Center, Outdoor Adventures, Craft Center, UC Davis Media, UC Davis Women's Volleyball, all have said yes, but they aren't the only ones. Like UC Davis Vet Med can't wait to be part of it. They're so much of UC Davis has supported this program, and it's been beautiful to see. And yeah, they're all dispersed all over campus every Friday. The ripples are tiny but really impactful, and they do change lives. They change perceptions. They change understanding of what inclusion looks like, and it's really profoundly important, right? And it needs to keep happening more and more.
I'm just gonna miss the whole campus, and like my friends, dormmates, and I'm gonna miss my classes and my teachers. This program is like a family.
I'm gonna miss the dorms. I'm gonna miss my sweetmates, Ryan and Jalen. And I'm probably gonna miss the food the most.
This is my first time actually having friends with disabilities before, so it feels good to like now, like it's more like I'm just happy that like I had friends like this in my life now.
I really want to take dance. I also want to take a swimming class, and I also want to take ASL.
I'm hoping to take some music classes and photography, and hopefully they'll take some anthropology.
Don't be afraid of things you want to hear. You'll get plenty of help and support. And just follow your gut and passion you want to take. It could be something silly or something serious. Whenever you try it, it doesn't hurt to try it. And just don't give yourself up if something doesn't go your way.
I want to say one thing is the next thing's gonna start coming. I want to say that welcome to UC Davis. I hope you have a wonderful time here. It's a really, really great school, and I love it so much.
Okay, and then time for questions. So this is our email address if you want to email, or you can definitely spend time on our website. We're in the thick of updating it right now, so you can definitely go check out our website.
Well, thank you, Beth. That is so cool. I really loved learning about that program and especially why it was named the way it was. I mean, that's really cool. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Crystal?
Thank you so much. That was exceptionally informative and it little emotional, actually, just even thinking that this is actually like a possibility. So that's it's really amazing. I do have a question. We currently are not on a high school diploma track. We have been kind of steered away from that because of the workability program. And the information was given to us by several people who have children older than ours that it's very hard to get them into workability programs if they have a high school diploma. So is this program, do you have to have a high school diploma in order to get into it? And if so, what's the age gap? So, I mean, obviously there are not a lot of spots available, and maybe in, 4 or 5 years when we're looking at this, it'll be different. Maybe there'll be more, but is it one of those things that they apply, and if they don't get in, they can keep applying until they're 26? You said 19 to 26, you had the kids waiting. So is that just, those are my questions. Sorry, I just piled them all on top of one. Sorry.
So we have 1,000 school districts in the state of California, 1,000. So some school districts are fantastic with inclusion and support students and help them get diplomas. And some students are, school districts are still segregating kids and not helping them get diplomas and everything in between. So there's no requirement to have a high school diploma at all. And there's no punishment if you do have a high school diploma. Either way, you can apply to our program if you have an intellectual disability. As far as workability is fantastic. And I think it's a great option for kids. And so definitely use workability if you can in your districts. Some districts are really great with workability, some are not, and everything in between. So it just really depends on where you're located and the options you have. And again, you won't be penalized if you've been part of workability, and that's great. And you have a lot of work experience, and you won't be penalized if you have none. So as far as the age range, our age range is 18 to 23. It's a shorter age range. Transition is considered 18 to 26 in a lot of these programs across the country, but we are 23 because you have to be 23. 23 is the oldest you can be to be in the dorms on campus. And they are willing to allow our 23-year-olds to be in there for a second year as 24-year-olds, but they are not interested in having students be much older than that. So our age range is 18 to 23. And yes, you can definitely reapply if you want. There are just very few spots, and there's definitely many students who are worthy, great applicants, and we just don't have enough spots for them, and we have to turn them away. So I mean, my plan for my own child, I did not expect him to get in right off the bat at all. I expected him to have to keep applying because there's just so few programs across the country. And then he got in. So then it was like, okay, I guess we better take advantage of this. They think he's ready. And what's nice is if the program lets you in, you're probably ready. You've demonstrated to the program that they think you're ready, and they have a lot of good ways to figure it out. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah.
My only other question is, are there scholarships available for tuition?
Okay, so now here's my really great joy to tell you. So my mission, we were mandated by the chancellor to make this accessible, that as you know, as low cost as possible. So we have two giant state agencies in the state of California dedicated to supporting people with intellectual disabilities. One is the Department of Rehabilitation, which gets tons and tons of federal money to help people with disabilities get employment and make a living wage. So that's one, that's DOR. The other one is Department of Developmental Services, which we all know as regional centers. They get tons and tons and tons of Medicaid dollars for independent living and employment, both. So both of those state agencies should be supporting our program because our program has the outcomes that they are looking for, right? So right off the bat, we approached both of those state agencies in our first year and said, hey, you guys should be supporting us. Here's all the data. We're way behind, but we know when we do this, all these outcomes that are great happen. So DOR said, yes, boom. First year, they paid all the tuition, the technology, and the transportation for every student. So that is fantastic, right? So that's essentially half the cost was paid for last year. This year, we kept working with regional centers to find a way. There is actually a service code in regional centers that they already had in existence to pay for the room and board of universities. And so we've been working with them. We are getting vendorized right now, and we believe that they will cover the full cost of room and board for our students this year, not the first quarter, but as we go along. There's every indication that that will happen. Department of Developmental Services has told us that we are going to be able to use that code. So, so we believe that within a few months, our program will be entirely funded so that the only cost will be your personal living expenses.
Wow.
For any child who gets admitted to the Redwood Seed Scholars program in California.
That's incredible. That is truly remarkable. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the plan, and it looks like it's going to happen. It definitely has happened for DOR, and you know, regional centers have come. Our regional center came, top people from DDS came. They met with our students, met with our mentors, saw what was happening for them, and they want to support this. It is everything that they want. So I do feel very, very hopeful that that will be full funding for our students, which again will be brand new for the state of California, which will help us to replicate up our goal in our 5-year grant. So we are entering year 3 of our grant. Year 4 and year 5 is to help other UCs and other CSUs build the program at their location. And once we can get this funding down, because that is a way to make us sustainable. We won't need the money from the grant if we have this money. So
wonderful. Well, wow. Thank you so much. I have to hop on another Zoom, but thank you so much for this information. I really, really appreciate it.
of course,
Yeah, super helpful. And I actually have someone I'd love to connect you with at Sonoma State who would be interested in doing that, has actually reached out a couple times. So I'll have to connect you there.
Who is it?
Well, Katya Robinson was originally reached out immediately to me to connect you to her. I think I connected you guys via email or messenger or something. And then we do a lot of presentations in the SSU department and Dominican both. And so I feel like I could connect you to the professors that we, do our presentations with. And so they're very vested in inclusive practices and, best practice. And so,
yeah,
let's do
please
it.
do.
I have a couple of questions. So Is your goal, is the goal to expand the program to other universities? Is that what you're saying too?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, that would be great. What is the like the recruitment process? I mean, how do you decide? I mean, you have so many application. I mean, how do you decide? I mean, who to take on, you know? I mean, in a nutshell, I'm
yeah,
sure it's complicated, but
it's a long process. We have a review panel, 10 different people. Each application is reviewed twice. And then we bring the top candidates who we think would be the best fit for our program to campus, and they have an all-day interview. So they shadow our students. So they go from class to class. So they go to the dining commons, they see what a day is like. So and we interview the candidate, and then we interview the family members or caregivers also. And at the end of those interviews, after the applicant review, you have a pretty good sense of who's good, but again, who's a good fit. But again, it's devastating because there's not enough spots.
I know, yeah. Is there like, I mean, do you have an idea if eventually you're going to expand it, or, I mean, you don't want to make it too big either, I understand, but.
Oh, unfortunately, so we have a lot of data on the right amount of cohort size, and the best cohort size is 12. So it's not going to expand. It's going to be 12 students each year for a total of 48 at our campus. And then we want Sac State to be up next and build theirs and have 48 there. And then, keep going. And we're willing to help anybody, anywhere around the country. And we talk to school districts, we talk to SELPAs, we talk to parent organizations, we talk to disability advocacy organizations, transition programs, you name it, we talk to them because we want to get the word out. And we want families to know what's possible so that they can advocate for this. We want, teachers and educators and principals to know what's possible. And we want, anybody who wants to can come and visit our program. We have info sessions once a month where our students come and talk, our mentors come and talk. I pretty much give the same blurb you guys just heard. And let people see for themselves what's possible. But these students are so incredibly capable. Their employment was so successful that they are all going to get paid next quarter, which means UC Davis, those agencies or departments on campus are using their own budget to pay for our students to have their jobs. That's how much value they brought to the employment. And that's what's cool to see is, when your people are supported well, when they are prepped to do this. So our students were prepped for 2 full quarters before they ever went into employment. But once they went there, they were very successful and they were very well supported. And the different groups on campus said, we want them back, bring them back. And now of course, our students have choices and they might not go back. They might go to a different place, and that's okay. That's up to them. Or we have, people like one guy's super musical. He really wants to, we want him to work at the radio station on campus, but that's not paid employment. So he's going to continue working at the library and then volunteer at the radio station and learn how to get a gig and be a DJ. So all of that is, it's student driven. It's their hopes and dreams, and we support them to that.
No, this is amazing. I mean, I was emotional watching the video because this is, I mean, you don't think something like that can be possible. So thank you for all the great work. I mean, thank you very much.
Of course. I mean, I do watch it for my own son. So I see what's possible. And it's incredible to watch what happens every year. I mean, truly incredible. My son can now fly across the country on his own.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right? You would never expect. When he started, we're like, I guess we're traveling with him for the next 4 years, back and forth. We didn't know, right? But he can do it.
No,
So-
this is wonderful, and it gives a lot of people some hope. So yeah, so that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah, we'll stay in touch and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you, Larkin, for the opportunity. And yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much for your time and all of this. Is it okay if I put this like on our YouTube channel and link
Sure.
it and things like that for our families?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is James. This
Right.
is my son. Can you
Bye,
say hi?